Tandem Nomads episode 205. If you want to generate consistent revenue, once you have built the solid foundations of your business and have clarity around it, it is time for you to implement them on a consistent base. Without consistency, you will not be able to generate revenue and predict your revenue for the long term. Hello, Nomad Nation. Welcome to Tandem Nomads, the podcast show and entrepreneurship platform where you can find great inspiration and guidance to grow a successful portable business and thrive in your global nomadic life. This is your host, Emel Deregi. I'm a business and marketing coach and the founder of Tandem Nomads. So today is the second part of these 3-part series episodes all around building the foundations of a successful portable business that generates great revenue and makes amazing impact. If you are looking at generating real revenue into your business, then you absolutely need to get into these foundations that I call the 3 C's. So the 3C system is the system that I've created to support my clients through my coaching and my online courses and help them build those foundations that will allow them to know exactly what to do to navigate through their business growth and really make sure to have a strategy that works for them. The 3C systems stands for those 3 pillars that are very important to build your business. The first one is clarity. Clarity around the foundations of your business. And if you have not listened to this episode yet, make sure to check it out. It's the previous episode, the previous solo episode that is all about clarity. You will find the link in the show notes of this episode, tandemnomads.com/205. And the second C now that we are covering today is consistency. So today I will share with you why it is really important to have consistency in your business and what are the things that you actually have to be consistent on. With this episode comes the ebook that I've prepared that shares with you this whole 3C system and gives you specific exercises to go through for each one of these steps. So make sure to download the ebook that goes with this episode. You will have all my secret sauce described in this ebook. So make sure to go to tandemnomads.com/205 and download it so that you can as well have some notes and these practical exercises to work on if you really want to build those foundations for your business. The reason I am very passionate about the topic of consistency is because after clarity, I really think that this is the biggest hurdle and obstacle for a lot of solopreneurs to really build a real business that generates real revenue on a consistent base. And this is why I really want to talk to you about this. And the thing is, when we have a brick and mortar store, there are things that we do naturally and we focus on naturally. Whereas when we have an online business and a portable business, solo entrepreneurs tend to forget that they have to do certain things on a consistent base to call what they do a real business. I'm going to explain in a second what I mean by that. For instance, let's say that you have a store. If you had a store to manage, you would show up, right, every single day at the certain opening hour and closing hour. You have to think of your business the same way when it's online. It has to have consistent office hours in a way that makes it easy for people to know where to find you and to, first of all, find you, but then to be able to come back to you on a regular basis. So basically what I want to help you do now through your portable business is to create those virtual office hours, but also those things in your business that have to be very regular and consistent. And we're going to cover what that should be. But before, I want to explain you a little metaphor to continue with the story about the store. So as I said, if you had a brick and mortar store, you would have opening hours, but you would also allow people to come inside and look at your products, touch them, try them, even maybe sometimes taste them to know if they really want to buy it. And it is the same with your portable business. You have to create a space where people can come in to be able to taste and try and have an idea how much they actually believe in your product or service, but also if they even want it, if it is what they actually need. And this is where your content is going to be very crucial. So we are going to talk about your content strategy for your portable business. And this is probably the most important part around consistency. There's another thing where you have to be consistent is actually the delivery of your product or your service and the quality of your product or service. And here I want to use another metaphor, for example, a restaurant. If you go to a restaurant and you love the service, you love the food, and you decide to come back or even recommend it to a client or a friend. But when you come back, the food does not taste the same, even if it's the same dish, and the service is not the same. Would you then keep coming back? Not too sure, right? So it's the same with the quality of what you provide. You need to create consistency in it. And obviously, if you're just starting out, you do not have that experience yet, but you need to basically just simply aim at getting better and keeping that consistency, at least in the way you show up and the times you show up. And that's one thing that's more related to the mindset somehow. One of the things that I see with a lot of my clients that I work with when they start, especially if you're just starting and you're not putting yourself out there yet in social media and through online content, is that idea of why would people listen to me when there's so many other people who do much better work? So although I'm talking about building consistency in your business and quality, I also want you to understand that quality comes with the consistency at which you show up. Your expertise will keep growing the more you show up. And practically, for example, with my podcast show, when I started, I was really not comfortable to run a podcast show. I was not comfortable at speaking. I was not even comfortable at the content of my episodes, but I stick to it. I showed up every single week, and the more I showed up, the better I got. So if you're still just shy at putting yourself out there, but also doubting about the quality of your work, I just want you to understand that the quality will come with your resistance and resilience to keep showing up every single week to your audience, and just keep believing that you will keep improving and growing with time. And the final thing that I want to share with you here about the importance related to consistency, before I go into details of how you can make that happen, if you are not consistent, if you do not have a place for people to find you, listen to you, read you, and reach out to you on a consistent base, if they don't see your name popping out in their feed on a consistent base or in their email box, first of all, they will forget you. And second, they will not know what is the value that you have to provide, which consequently will not allow you to create revenue. So the consistency of the quality of your product or service, but as well as your marketing strategy, is essential for you to attract clients on a consistent base and then be able to convert, which will be our next episode. I had a wonderful experience with one of my clients that shared with me something that was so powerful. She told me one day, once she decided to reach out to me, she said, the reason why I ended up reaching out to you is because I had signed up to your newsletter and I kept seeing every single week your insights. And that kept reminding me that I knew where to find you once I was ready. So my client was studying, getting her diploma, and she knew that after that, she will be ready to kick off and launch her business. But at the time, she couldn't do it. But she stayed, followed my free content, followed everything I did online, and then she showed up. And she clearly said that if I hadn't seen you coming up on my feed on a regular basis, I would have forgotten. And I remember her sometimes answering to some of my newsletters saying, hey, I did not forget, I'm coming to you. I love what you're putting out there. And she even said something like, be patient with me or something like that. I'll be there. But I was not asking for anything. And I was not making any offers or even selling. So by just creating valuable content on a regular basis, I was actually selling without selling. And we will talk about that in a bit, the importance of considering your marketing as a way to serve your audience. And this can go such a long way. That reminder of seeing me in her world, in her content, the content she consumes on a regular basis, is what led her to at some point take action and reach out when she was ready. So if you are really serious about building a real business that generates real revenue, your consistency is a non-negotiable. You absolutely need to consider your content and your marketing the same way as a store owner would consider being important to show up and open the store at a certain time and close it at a certain time on a regular basis and have things to show inside the store that really will make the clients decide to buy the product. It's the same for a portable business. It's the same concept. So I'm going to show you now how to think and strategize so that you can then be consistent. What do you need to be consistent at? There's a lot of things to think about when you think about your strategy, but I'm going to simplify here with 3 important things you need to consider to build a consistent business foundation. The first one is your marketing strategy. The second one is going to be the value that you give and your relationships. And the third is your online content. So let's start with marketing strategy. I'm going to continue this metaphor with the store. If you had a store or decided to open a store, the first thing you will ask yourself is, what location am I going to position this store so that I can have foot traffic coming in? You will look at the real estate, you will look at which streets you have most traffic versus the prices. You also have that to consider. But basically, you are going to decide the big where. Where are you going to find the right people who will come in your store? For example, if you're focused on elder people, you will probably choose an area of the city where there are more elder people. It's the same with your online business. And this is why in the first part of this series, we talked about the importance to get clarity on your target audience. So once you have that clarity of your target audience, as well as the pillars that we discussed in that episode, you can then make decisions on your marketing strategy. So what is the marketing strategy? The marketing strategy is basically the answer to 4 questions. So I invite you to take notes of this. The first one is, who is your ideal customer? And that by now you should know. Once you know that answer, the second one is, where is your ideal customer? Where do they spend time and where do they consume content as well as listen and research for resources related to the problem that you solve? So that is a huge question for you to answer. The third one is how to convert. That's the next episode we will discuss. And the fourth is how to keep your clients happy and also satisfied, but also how to generate referrals and recommendations. And this will also be very important with the consistency of the product or service you deliver and making sure that you're constantly focused on serving your clients. So now that you have the 4 questions, the big one that you really need to focus on is the second one. Where is your ideal client? So here you will need to run a market research and to understand, what are the different places where your ideal customer consumes content, but also makes research on the type of product or service you deliver. So by where, I mean, for example, what kind of media they consume, what kind of social media platforms they are on, what kind of networking events they go to, what kind of organizations they pay attention to. So these are all places that you need to research. I have a also episode all about how to interview your potential clients and do your surveys so that you can extract this information. So make sure to go to the show notes of this episode where I share with you the link of that episode that shares with you how to do that research. But you will as well find it in the guidebook. I have a whole system here inside the guidebook with exercises, and I share with you as well the link of the episode where you can learn how to find that information. Where is your ideal client? So as I said, go to tandemnomads.com/205 and download that workbook where you will have guidance on that. So once you find out where is your ideal client, then you will decide what is your ideal marketing strategy to reach out to them. There's a few marketing strategies available. I'm not going to go into their details, but I'm just going to run through them real quick right now so that you can understand what I mean by marketing strategy. So marketing strategy is how you get traffic and how you get visibility. So the first thing that you need as a business is to get visibility. And the second, once you have visibility, is to get the people's attention. Once you have their attention, then you start building a relationship with them. And finally, you take action by making an offer. This is what I call my Avara method. This is the method that I created to explain a little bit how to build a marketing strategy and what are the things you need to consider. So that will as well be in the workbook. But once you reflected on that, then there's different ways to get that visibility. The first one is networking. The second is events and conferences. The third one is speaking engagement. The fourth can be blogging or guest contributing content to other platforms, as well as then strategic partnerships, referrals, media. You can be interviewed in the media, or you could as well contribute or even pay. And that becomes another strategy, which is paid advertising. You also have direct marketing and search engine optimizations. So these are the different marketing strategies. In the workbook, I show you examples of different types of businesses and how they decide, depending on where's the client, what is the marketing strategy. But for example, let's say you have a fashion brand and you discover that your ideal clients are on Instagram. So you could decide that Instagram is your biggest place to create visibility. So there you would create consistent content, but one of your ways as well to really attract other people that are not already part of your audience could be advertising on Instagram. So check out all the different examples, that I have that in the workbook so that you can have a bit of inspiration. So very important for you to, once you know where is your ideal client, to choose among these different marketing strategies. And this is the biggest mistake that I've seen a lot of people do. They try everything and nothing at the same time. A little bit of networking, a little bit of speaking, a little bit of advertising, a little bit of interviews. This is when you scatter your efforts like that, especially if you're a solo entrepreneur and have very limited time, it's very hard to get real traction and results from these marketing strategies to get visibility. So with your market research, once you answer that question and have clear idea of who is that customer, ideal customer, and where they are, I want you to pick 3 to 4 marketing strategies maximum and stick to them. For example, in my case, it's been speaking engagements. So I know that I need to have a certain number of speaking engagements per month to know that I will create the traction and visibility that I need. I'm very fortunate that at the moment I don't need to approach people, although I still do it sometimes. But when I started, I was proactively researching all the platforms where I could speak and applying to speak. So, and this was a habit that I had on a weekly basis to look and research those platforms and keep reaching out. So think about that as well in your case. What is that strategy that you will choose, and what can you do on a regular basis to keep exploiting that strategy? So that's the first thing. Define your marketing strategy and stick to it on a consistent basis. The second one for me is not a marketing strategy, but is basically something that I think we tend to forget too much, especially in this world where social media dictates a lot and we talk a lot about advertising and all the ways where we can get quick wins. I think it's so important that you understand, especially when you have your own small business, that relationships are at the core of a success of a business. Even if you're a big company, by the way, but even more when you're a small entrepreneur. So it starts with a mindset to understand that you need to really focus on giving and sharing value, giving value, helping people, supporting people, building through true, authentic relationships, and being committed to that on a regular basis. Because there's no shortcuts to growing a business, and those marketing strategies cannot really work if people don't sense that you are here to serve and here to help. You will need the help of other people to get visibility as well. So for you to be able to get people's trust, you need to also be there to serve. So I want you to check out in the show notes of this episode, an episode with Bo Berg that I've done all about giving, and I highly recommend his book that's called The Go-Giver. And that's one of the first things that I want you to kind of embrace in your journey as you grow your business. But then inside your business, it's very hard sometimes to find that balance between making money and serving others. I do think that we should really understand that if you focus on giving value, the money will come. The money will come on its own. And I really believe in that so strongly. And I also believe in the importance through your content, and we'll talk about content strategies, in a bit. Your content has to be about giving. The more value you give through your free content, the more chances people will trust you and want to work with you. So I gave you here some insights in the workbook and inspiration of how you can take this really notion of giving values and building strong relationships, but really make sure that it becomes a second nature to you. So check it out in the workbook. I give you some resources there, but I highly, highly recommend you to as well read the book, The Go-Giver. Once you've worked on that and really embraced the importance of giving value, then you can start looking at your content strategy, which is the third part of this episode. You remember when I told you about the store, when your marketing strategy is the choice of where you're going to locate your store to get traffic. Well, now that people get inside your store, you need to have something to exhibit, something to show, something to give a taster of what experience they could have with you once they purchase your product or your service, but also something that gets them to know you and build a relationship with you so that they can trust you that you are the right person and also get to know who you are. This is what your content is all about. It is those objects that in a store you would exhibit, put on shelves. Well, your content is exactly that in the world of a portable business. So if you don't have content available on a regular basis and consistent basis in your business, you're basically removing so many opportunities for you to be able to reach out and attract those potential clients. You are leaving money on the table when you do not do that. It's as if you had a store with opening hours, but nothing inside to look at, and not even you to be there, to get to know you and build a relationship with you. You want to serve people with content that really shows the value of your work and the quality of your work. And this is really something that a lot of people tend to skip when they start their business. They focus on advertising, on getting exposure. But then once you have exposure, you need to capture what is called in marketing those leads. I would say it in other words, capture the attention of people who have seen you, but then how do you build that relationship with them and stay in touch with them? In the world of a portable business, you do that by giving value through your free content and doing it in a regular base. So by free content, it means, first of all, you could choose either to blog, to podcast, or to create a video content. You have these three choices. No matter what type of content you want to build, you need to have a content strategy and then be consistent at it. So by consistency, I always recommend once you've chosen the type of platform you want to use as a content platform, blogging, podcasting, or video, then you need to choose your frequency. And actually, there's not a lot of choices if you're really serious about this. I highly recommend you to go on with a new content every single week. And if you do that, you will see it really helps so much and it's that consistency and regularity that will make people remember you. If they don't see you on a regular pace, they won't remember you. Remember that example I gave you with that client who said, it's because I kept seeing you in my email box that I ended up deciding and not forgetting to come to you when I was ready. So that's what I want to happen for you. Now, if you really can't do it every single week, then do it every other week. I really think that's the minimum you can do. Create regular, consistent, and valuable content at least once a month. But my preference is definitely weekly or every other week. And I want to address something very briefly, but so important to put out there. I've heard so many people telling me, I don't want to bother people. It's going to be harassing them if I'm sending them a newsletter every week and content every week. I really urge you to not think that way. As you could see, I gave you the example of my clients who thought it was a service. Your marketing strategy is a service that you're doing to other people to help them in their journey. I've had so many people telling me how the podcast, without using my service, has helped them in their business. So it's the same for you. If you focus on giving value through your content, you're not bothering anybody. First of all, you need to be convinced of that. But also, know that people have the choice to not listen, to not watch, to not read your content. It's their decision. And if they are on your mailing list and don't want to receive it anymore, they can unsubscribe. You do not want to have people in your mailing list who are just not consuming your content, because that actually will lower a conversion rate, and we'll talk about it in the third part of this series. So if people unsubscribe from your mailing list, it's actually a service they're doing to you, because then you only keep people who are truly engaged with the value you're providing with your free content. So it's very important to have that mindset shift and not think about you bothering people, because this is a mindset that really is going to stop you from providing the value that people need from you. Make sure that you have a clear content strategy and that you commit to it. It is so important. And if you want to know how to design content in an effective way, I also have a whole podcast episode that shows you in details how to do that. So in the workbook, I give you the link and some exercises as well to do that. But here, it's really about understanding what you need to be consistent at, and that's the third pillar where it's really important. The other thing when you build your content strategy that is very important is that you have a way to get the contacts of the people who are exposed to your content. Growing your mailing list has to be your biggest focus in your business. Your number one measurable goal in your business is the size of your mailing list. It is completely and directly related. Your sales will be a direct correlation with the size of your mailing list. Actually, there's even a formula that I share with you in this workbook of how you can measure your sales according to the number of people that you have in your mailing list. But basically, an average, when you get started in a business, the conversion rate is 2 to 3%. So if you know that, for example, average conversion rate, you can do the math knowing how much money you want to make and how many people that represents that have to be in your mailing list. So here I will share with you my own example. If you've been listening to Tandem Nomads podcast show on a regular basis, you know that I try to give you as much value as I can. And every single time I make sure that on top of the podcast episode that I have a resource for you to be able to download so that I can then stay in touch with you and continue to share with you more resources that can help you in your journey. So I have a weekly newsletter where I share some key insights, but for you to be part of this newsletter, you need to sign up to it. Either you decide to go to the website and say, I want to receive the newsletter, or you can also download this guidebook that I have for you and then check the box to receive the newsletter. So it's the same process that I invite you to implement in your business and be very consistent every single week at what are the different ways where I can grow my email list. I, for example, choose my podcast as one of my main way to do it, as well as my social media platforms. But as well, every single time I have a speaking engagement, I make sure to offer something for people to download right away so that I can stay in touch with them. In smaller groups, I actually go straight to the point and give them a sheet where they give me their emails and sign their consent to receive my newsletter. Actually, speaking of consent, I am really a big believer in the importance of not forcing people into a mailing list. This is something that will not serve you on the long term. So there's this regulation called the GDPR, which is the European Regulation for Data Privacy, that is especially for those dedicated to consumers who are in Europe. But I follow that rule for any person who's anywhere in the world. And I also have a whole episode on GDPR that I highly recommend you to check. And that's as well in the workbook if you want to learn how to do it. But basically, if you download my workbook that's on this show notes, you will see that I do have a motion for GDPR. And if you don't tick that box to say, I want the newsletter, I will actually not send it to you. I will only send you the workbook. So I hope that you will be joining my newsletter if you want to have more inspiration. Every Wednesday, at this time of this recording, I've been sending my newsletter every Wednesday where I share some insights. So I hope to meet you there, but you can as well answer to that newsletter. Know that it's actually an email that I'm sending you, and that's what I'm reachable. If you have any questions and want to follow up with me, know that that's what I'm reachable. All you have to do is to answer that email to contact me. So think about that. It's all about building a relationship between you and me that I'm looking for here. And I want you to do that as well with your own audience. So I hope that you found some great inspirations here on the key things where you have to be consistent. Number one, your marketing strategy. Understanding where is your ideal client and what are the key things, let's say 3 top marketing strategies you will implement on a consistent base. Then the second one is to never forget the importance of giving value and serving. You need to be in that mindset of super serving your people. By that, we're thinking about your current client as well as your network and growing your network on a regular basis, building collaborations, working with other people, but as well as connecting people to each other, supporting them, making sure that you are part of this ecosystem, not just to make business, but to build true valuable relationships and giving value. It is so important. So think about what you can do to do that on a regular basis. I recommend you, for instance, to also join an organization where you know that your ideal clients are, where you can just be there to build those relationships as well. And the third part is your content strategy and making sure that you are growing your email list. This is so important that you build consistent content and you grow your email list and track the numbers of your email list, because that will tell you exactly how much revenue you can make if you decide to start promoting or reaching out to potential clients to offer your product or service. Here is my final point. The biggest challenge is, as I said here, having clarity and knowing what to do to be consistent. But the next one, the biggest challenge related to consistency, is time. I'm really, really aware that it requires so much effort and time to create consistent content, for instance, on a regular basis and doing all the other things that I shared with you. But it starts with your mindset, Nomad Nation. It really starts with your determination to consider this as going to your office. It's the same thing. If you had a 9-to-5 job, you would have to go and show up to the office. It's the same thing with your business. You need to show up. It's not a negotiable. As simple as that. So you need to be convinced about that so that you can implement the habits, the routines that will allow you to have the time and space to do it. But it really starts with your commitment. But I do have a bunch of other resources for you to help you manage your time, but also build your support system. And I will as well put those links in the show notes of this episode. You will see in the show notes of this episode, there is a section called Extra Resources. So I'll put up all the links to episodes where I help you manage your time more effectively and grow your support system so that you can as well find the time and energy to be able to do it. But it really starts with you committing. If you don't commit, nothing will happen. As I said, if you're really serious about it, you need to be able to create the systems and the habits to be consistent. All right, Nomad Nation, I hope that this got you a lot of inspiration. I talked about a lot of things here, but it does summarize all the things you need to know about the second pillar, consistency. And as I said in the workbook, I guide you with some simple exercises and extra resources to help you through it. So make sure to download it on tandemnomads.com/205. And as I said, sign up to the newsletter and reach out if you have any questions about it. Also know that I have 2 great programs for you if you're interested that will help you dive further and get the support from me directly to help you in the process of creating your own 3C system. So in the workbook, I share with you my program that's called the Portable Business Accelerator. So I highly recommend you to consider joining this online course. And I also have a 1-year coaching program that's called the Business Growth Accelerator. While the online course will show you step by step from A to Z how to implement this 3C system, and you will learn how to do that on your own at your own pace. You can as well join the Business Growth Accelerator if you want more accountability and support to help you every step of the way. This VIP 1-year coaching program, the Business Growth Accelerator, is for those of you who want to have the support feedback of an expert by your side and to stay accountable to your goals. So this program is really dedicated for those of you who are really committed to give a full focus to your business for a whole year so that you can either build the foundations that will allow you to grow consistent revenue, or if you already have a business and want to take it to the next level, are committed to make that happen. So I will be working by your side as a partner for a whole year to guide you through every single step. If you're interested by that, then I recommend you to sign up to an assessment session so that I can help you assess where you are in your business and figure out if this coaching program is the right program for you. So all the information of these 2 programs, the Portable Business Accelerator online course and the Business Growth Accelerator coaching program, are in the email that I will send you once you download this workbook. All right, so I hope that you found great inspiration here. And in the next solo episode, we will talk all about conversion, how to convert all these efforts into clients and revenue. I cannot wait to cover this for you. See you in the next episode and stay tuned to turn your challenges into great opportunities.